And we're live to review an episode of Yes Minister, which I think we watched last year. Is that right, Haley? I can't remember. It was a while ago.
Just about.
It was a while ago. So
yeah, a while ago.
But here we go, and it's, I think you can see that. And now what I have to do is I have to go and look at a link. So can you see that, Haley?
Yes.
Right, I'm just got to. Okay, there I am talking, and okay. And then I will eventually see what you see. Okay, so intro sequence, folks. This one's a little bit rude about Paul Eddington, in my opinion. His teeth aren't like that. His nose isn't that big. It's a little bit rude. I think that's a little bit more, it captures more of him. Haley, not the biggest fan of this character. I'm a little more sympathetic to him. Then we have Derek Folds. Economy Drive.
So Ben, if someone were to draw you like a caricature, what animal do you think it would be?
Of me?
What would they make you into? Yes.
Well, is that right? I was just switching the account. What would they make me into? What would I like to be? Okay. I don't know. A big teddy bear. I don't know.
A big teddy bear. Okay. Well.
Something complimentary. I don't know. Right, a sloth, maybe. Right. Pin. Oh, there you go. And and then there's the other Ben, who is now logged in and can see what's going on. See what you can all see. Then I know what the correct thing. So we start this episode. Oh, this is me on a technical footnote. You can have decent lighting, and that's in a studio. That looks pretty good. So if you have decent lighting, you don't have to have everything overlit. I love these scenes between these two. Things like where they really go. I mean, yes, it's satire, but there's so much truth. It has the ring of truth in it. And what I will do is and this is my obsession, my NT obsession with how you recognize the cameras. The 1980s television cameras is they leave marks like this on the screen. So it's one of the ways you can tell when something was made is by the camera technology at the time. He may be padded out there. I'm just saying. Maybe that's not a natural chubbiness there. So to remind, I think what I'll do is I'll quickly go through these slides to remind Haley of the episode, and then we'll go to some of the points.
Yeah, because I mean, it has been about a year since we watched this, right?
Yeah, and plus they're complicated. Oh yes, so the whole point of this is, I think what I'll do is I'll stop here for the moment on Jumbo, and the premise of the episode is that Jim Hacker thinks there's a lot of votes and there's a lot of personal benefit in him being the one that heads. Now, it's never implied, it's never stated, but I think it's pretty obvious that his party is more right of centre than the other party, because his positions that he advances is like, hey, we've got to get rid of this government waste and stuff. And I rarely hear that out of a Democrat's mouth. Just saying. Right. So they have a nice joke that they start off with. You know, where they read from the newspaper article. And I'll swatch over to Hayley while I go through this bit, then we'll go back to the images. They start off with the newspaper article. And this may be true in the United States as well. So they're reading from the newspaper on there being more people serving in the Inland Revenue, so it's the equivalent of the IRS, than in the Royal Navy. Here we go. Perhaps the government thinks the tax is the best form of defence. I love that wordplay. The tax is the best form of defence. Now, I would have put a tax, but they actually said the tax. I rewound it many times to make sure they got that exact wording right. Right. Because you had Weasel, who was the advisor to Jim, just the political advisor to Jim, and going on about that. Oh, and then they were talking about the government bunker. Oh, and then you got Sir Humphrey. Yeah, they did have a bunker. The government doesn't stop just because the whole country's been destroyed. Annihilation's bad enough without anarchy to make things even worse. Now, they're all going to be SJs that think like that. There needs to be order. Right. So like I said, both of those jokes, that second one has a lot of truth in it. Right. Oh, and there's a wonderful bit that goes to the whole heart of things. And Hayley, you might want to come in on this bit. When they had that in England, they pick the ministers and the cabinet from the MPs. So it would be as if, say, Trump had to fill his cabinet based on members from Congress. And they were saying that, and so Humphrey was saying that most of the MPs, there's 600 MPs, and you've probably got about 300 on your side that you 320 that you can or 350 that you could choose from to fill all these cabinets, and most of them are not qualified, and most MPs, just as most members of Congress, what are they? They're lawyers, aren't they? They've all because being a lawyer because part of being a lawyer is learning how to argue and do rhetoric, although from a lot of them it's like bloody hell, not exactly high flying lawyers. Right. Although someone like, I tell you who's good, Trey Gowdy. He's somebody who like strikes you as, so people watching this, search out Trey Gowdy. He was a public prosecutor. He's a very good line of questioning. Trey Gowdy's good.
Perhaps I'm related.
Pardon?
His mother's maiden name is Gowdy.
Well, I think what state is he from? Trey Gowdy. He's from the South. He's not from Texas. Right. Here we go. Anyway, Hayley, you don't be giving out too many facts that people can use to track you down. Right. Right. Not that people get anywhere anyway. Right. Anyway, enough of your off-air activities. No.
Hold on. Oh.
Yeah, I was rambling anyway, so you didn't miss anything. Right, what we got here? We've got that's that one, and then that's that one. Is that anything? No, that's nothing. That's just that little thing at the bottom that says hide. Right. So you can see the point of view of the people that run the civil service from the bureaucrats' point of view. Like, they're thinking, what do these MPs know? They're not qualified. Imagine, Hayley, if, although you might think it might be an improvement, imagine if NASM was populated, or loads of like technical things. So it were political appointees by people unqualified and hadn't It's crazy. Right.
Yep.
Right. So what have we got here? Oh, and then there was stuff about where they did. The suggestion was that Sir Humphrey would suggest to Jim that if you're going to cut things, if you're going to make, and they always do this, like with cuts, is where does the government make the cuts, and you've got to show that you're having the cuts as well, because then it looks good, and so they decide to make it very, very difficult for him in order to so that he eventually gives up the cuts. And it was and then there's a sequence that happens where he says to where they get rid of all the secretaries and they don't have the cleaning lady at night because the night shift is more expensive than the day shift. And so Bernard is overworked, and Jim says to Bernard, "How did you allow this to happen, Bernard?" And Bernard says, "CBE." And Jim says, "CBE can't be everywhere, Minister." Right. Right. And then something weird. I didn't get the joke when it said something like, "Overwrought is a newt."
Well, I think a newt is an animal. A little, kind of like a mole rat.
But sometimes I've heard someone said drunk as a newt, and maybe overwrought. Could that? I don't know if could that has ever been used as a euphemism
The temperament.
I don't really know what that meant.
Sure.
Oh yes, MI6. At the time, for many, many years, MI6 was not admitted to be a real thing, and it stands for military. I think it's Military Intelligence 6, and MI5, which deals with terrorism domestically within the UK. So Military Intelligence 5 and Military Intelligence 6 that James Bond works for, and was denied. And that there was a building on the Thames that's still there. It was denied to exist. That was the head. That was the home of MI6. And when it was and when they declassified it, yes, this building exists. And the first one that they said that was the head of it, I think it was Stella Rimington, was like the head of MI6. And they actually showed it in the Bond movie where it came out, and that was like the first time they showed it because they denied its existence of MI6. And so that's why I had all that stuff about oh yes, and GCHQ is the equivalent of the NSA, which is the Signals Intelligence Agency. Right. That's about it. And then we'll go through these slides, and then I've got some thoughts from Haley. I'm not saying there's going to be many of them, but we'll get what we can get.
Yeah, you get what you can get.
Right.
You know me too well.
Yeah, I mean, I've not been able to give too many thoughts away. It's just, although what we can talk about is we can slightly digress onto your parsimony because you're good at working on a strict budget and imposing a budget on yourself. Right. So this is when they're doing the deals about the, make the cuts, hurt. To show a good example, host them, a good lighting to show, because usually at the time things were overlit, but not overlit. We go old school glasses. Why people wear glasses like this now and they think they're fashionable? And I'm going to say no, they might be fashionable, but they're horrible. Right. You want glasses like mine? Right. Right. Oh, no drivers coming up with dispatch boxes. All right, here we go. Old school. There you go, typewriter. We know what it is, Ben. We know this is a telephone as well, and we know that's a frame, and we know that's a wall. You don't need to tell us these things. We know that's a pattern, and we know this is a human being. Right. So I won't keep pointing out the obvious. Right. You know what these things are. Right. Maybe they changed his desk to a cheapo desk. I think they changed the desk. I don't think that it was this one before. I think they just gave him a cheaper desk.
Idea.
And then I like this actress as the cleaning lady. They generally call these in England Mrs. Mop. Now, what's he doing? He's about to do an impression of a certain person here. It's the Churchill impression. Really fancies. It's just like he fancies himself as Churchill. Obama fancied himself as Martin Luther King Jr. because every now and then, when he would give a speech, he would like change his tonalities into an MLK type delivery. And I'm thinking, you weren't a Baptist minister there, Obama. What are you doing? Oh yeah. So, what did you think of this little plot point where they had the union guy turn up?
Just perfect. I mean, perfect watching someone just get slaughtered. Setup.
I love the act, and then he realizes. I love the reaction, the acting from this guy. I just love this like realization and acting. And there you go. Did you like that as well? Did you like his reaction? Did you like his reactions? Like. I mean, the premise of this series. I mean, if you're trying to sell this, it's like, well, it's three guys well into late middle age. You might see a woman in it every now and then. It might. What a pitch! What a way to pitch the series. Yeah, they're in a room and it's three old middle-aged guys talking, and he says, "Okay, I'll sign me up. I'll watch that." But when you actually read it, it's like, how could you do this any better? Now, they did bring it back with Zoe Telford, when they actually had the same writers write a new series about 4 years ago, and Zoe Telford was the new advisor to Jim. Right, I won't say any more than that, because there's spoilers. Right. Yeah, this guy frequently plays SJs, because he has that type of SJ voice. In England, sort of like, but his is like the union kind of SJ. My members, right? Oh yeah. So another thing that you got at the time in the UK, film more expensive than tape, but the cameras were lighter. You're only allowed a certain amount of film per episode, maybe about 5 to 10 minutes, because it was more expensive, but the cameras were lighter. And so we have a nice falling birth rate forecast. Oh yes, the strikes. Oh yes, by the transport. Oh yeah, with the rain. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you thought they were going to mug him. You know, as you watched it, you thought they weren't mugging.
Mm-hmm.
And then the keys. That was good. Just staring at it with his glasses. Oh, Milton Johns. Oh, Milton Johns. He's that guy. John Savage, Milton Johns. Yeah.
Yeah, at the end, when they took that picture of him, did they get him with his car keys?
No, they
his
just.
hand in the picture?
I think
Or
they
they
just
had
got him
fallen
lying.
down in the thing, right?
I think they. Well, they got the guy just lying. They just got him lying in the gutter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I would have come back like, well, stuff fell in the gutter. I was trying to get it out. I wasn't drunk, you know. Even he might have been drinking, but I mean, what would have been worse? Them saying, "Oh, look, he's drunk. He fell over," or pulling his keys out right at the moment where they take the picture, like, "Oh, look, he's drunk and he's got his car keys. He's gonna drive." Would have been worse.
Well, yeah. Well, there you go. Because they actually passed in the UK. I think drink driving breathalyzer was in 1967, and this is like 1980. Though I mean, in the United States, obviously DUI laws as well. So it's a good job he dropped his keys down there.
Yeah.
No DUI. Well,
Now, if he ever gets them out.
Yeah, but you see, that's good. In fact, maybe they should have said that, because they should have said to him, "It's a good job you did lose your keys, else you wouldn't be here, Minister. You'd be resigned."
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would call. Yeah, that would be a. For a minister like him, that would be a. That would be a. I think, yes, that would be a resignation. Yeah, that would be, yeah, at least a resignation. So then, so what did you think of it, Haley?
Yeah, I liked it. It's good. Like you said, for only being three men talking, and well, I mean, not like I really care about appearance of women, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. Yes.
I was just thinking, and I think you gave it at the time. What do you give it now out of 10?
It's a 7. I give it a 7.
Yeah, yep. And that's a high mark for you.
Yeah.
I would. But in general, the idea of you are a sort of person who likes to. Just this thought process of like, and this must just be an extra little thing, folks. An extra little bonus for loyal viewers of Haley about your attitude towards like scrimping and saving and budget cutting, things like that. What's your sort of general attitude towards being parsimonious? A sort of, if you could give a defense of the thrifty people.
Well, let's see, going out and, I mean, I've always been this way. I just can't imagine a bunch of money. I don't know. I don't know how to give a defense other than to say that I don't like to spend a lot of money and do and
So basically, you could have done what Jim did quite easily, because like you would need all those things because you don't.
Things that I would have invested in, a bicycle, like to get me back and forth from work, like so I'm not walking or work. Basically, it would take time. Like things in my life that I've found that are cheaper have taken time to find, but worth it. For example, if I was in that situation, I don't really know if a bike would work because if I'm like he leaves home pretty late, be like walking that far that late at night, like alone by myself. So I'd try and like trains or trolleys or something like that.
Imagine you would be a good minister of fitness. How fit would the nation be doing things properly? The Nazim would have to obey you. The minister of fitness.
Yeah.
You would wreak havoc through that.
Wouldn't be happy with me.
Heads would roll. Edith,
Yeah.
you will read these studies.
Yes. Gosh, I would bring so many people in. Brad Schoenfeld being one of them. Gosh, I would bring so many people in, and we would.
It'd
The
be
whole
heaven.
system would
It'd
just
be
get
like
put on hold.
it'd be all your heroines and heroes, and like you would love the meetings on theory. That'd be heaven for you, the Minister of Fitness.
Yeah, but you know, it'd just be great because I would have the ability to bring people in who know, oh, hey, look at me, big shot, listen to me. I mean, I realize where my like knowledge limitations are, and that's when I know there's others that follow Chris Beardsley, like people I would bring in, and the whole system would just be put on hold. NASM would be discarded. We would rewrite the whole thing. It would take months, 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 and they would all get paid very well. They would get paid very well, and yeah, we'd redo the whole thing. And wait, so how did we get to this from being like the parsimony talk?
Dan, how do you do your anything? Right, yeah, but that could be like an episode of Yes Minister in future. Is like the idea of say that this is the sort of thing that could be an episode of something similar, where it would be say something like Jim or somebody decides, hey, let's have a national fitness drive. They bring somebody in, and then there's then you get say the vested interests that come in. And then you can actually sort of like the episode would demonstrate what the vested interests are, such as Jim's wanting people to go through a particular process so they use all of the machines and so they don't get used, and all of the relationship between big government and big Jim, as we're going to call it, gets and then you could do that joke being Big Jim. No, not you, Minister. Jim versus Big Jim, and then there's a joke already. Right.
I suck at making up like jokes on the fly. I suck at it horribly. I'm one to be like quick on my feet.
Well, okay. Well, I'd like to be better as well. Right.
You're pretty good. You're better than I am.
Well, I'll take that high praise. Right. Right. So, folks, I think we'll leave on this high note of actually coming up with an episode of Yes Minister just off the top of our heads there. By knowing stuff. When you know stuff, you can come up with episodes of Yes Minister if you know an issue. So if anyone else is watching this and they have an idea for a potential episode, please write it in the comments below. So it is bye from me.
Bye for me.